gathering behind the church for the family.
Oh, we. Ladies and gentlemen, if I can remind everyone to please turn off their cell phones for the service. And we have found a set of keys. It's a link. Okay.
Thank you.
Lisa, I'll bring them back to you.
On behalf of Ed's family and Sarah Schulman and Tom Cantor and myself, I want to thank you for being here today. The Torah teaches us that when God set out to create human beings, God created the first human being out of the dust of the earth and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, Nishmat Chaim. It comes to teach us that we are all part of this earth. Our bodies return to the earth from where they came. We also are part of the divine, each of us endowed with a spark of that we call our soul, our spirit. We gather today to lovingly and with respect return Ed Lampert's body to the earth from where it came, and to lift up his soul and accompany his family as they grieve. We'll begin the service with Psalm 23.
Adonai roi lo echsar, bino desheyar bitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleini. Nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, yanecheni lemaged tzedek, leman shemo. Elech begetz al mavet, lo irara ki ata imadi, shivetecha Umishantecha, Shivetecha, Umishantecha, Ema yenachamuni, Taroch lefanai shulchan, Taroch lefanai shulchan, Taroch lefanai shulchan, neged tzorerai, bishanta Hashem el Roshi, Dishanta Hashem el Roshi, Dishanta Hashem el Roshi, Kosi Revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shaveti ושבתי בבית אדוני, ושבתי בבית אדוני, לאורך ימים.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me refuge to lie down in green pastures, leading me beside the still waters, restoring my soul, guiding me in straight paths, for that is God essence. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. You are my rod, you are my staff, and they comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of mine foes, for you have anointed my head with oil. My cup runs over. It always had such a wonderful way of inviting others' presence into his life. He had a wonderful handshake. This is a family, the Lampert family, and all of you here who needs that handshake, who needs to hold one another through this difficult time in the recent death of Ed's beloved Rayanne. So I invite you throughout this service, find someone's hand in Ed's honor to hold on to as we hold one another and comfort one another through the memories and through the sadness.
Thank you very much, Shlomo. Ed Lampert was a man who lived by time-tested values. He was an honest, hardworking, kind, and generous person. These were the values that endeared him to everyone he knew and made him a beloved father, husband, and community member. Ed was raised with these values. He was born on May 11th, 1930, the only child of Benjamin and Ann Lampert. He grew up on Denver's east side on Capitol Hill. But Ed was also an honorary West Sider. When he was 16 years old, he met his lifelong beloved, Rayanne, at a BBYO event. Rayanne was just 13 years old at the time. Ed was smitten. He said she was pretty, she was funny, and he liked her girlfriends because many of them dated his friends. So every week, Ed took the bus over the viaduct to visit Rayanne. And as soon as she turned 18 on November 25th, 1951, they got married. Their wedding was the last wedding to take place in the original Hebrew Educational Alliance building on Colfax and Meade Street. Ed earned his degree from the University of Denver and enlisted in the Air National Guard, hoping to avoid the draft during the war in Korea. Nonetheless, his unit was called up for active duty. He served his time at Tinker Air Force Base in Norman, Oklahoma, where he worked as an electrical technician. Ed had a lifelong love of radios and other electronic gadgets. He was a tinkerer, making transistor radios from electronic kits from Radio Shack. He was also a collector of many things, including stamps and coins, and he later became enamored with antique fire trucks. After returning from his military service, Ed had a choice: join his father Benjamin in the insurance industry or his mother Ann in selling real estate. Ed chose real estate, and he loved working with his mom, just as he would later love working with his son Mark. Ed was the consummate salesman and a real estate professional. We will hear more about Ed's accomplishments in real estate from Mark shortly. But Ed lived as he worked and worked as he lived. He lived his values. In business, he was a person of his word. He was honest and worked hard on behalf of his clients. He had a passion for creating and selling homes that people would enjoy, places that were beautiful, where they could raise their families. Wherever he went, even when he and his family would travel away from home, Ed was always checking out the local real estate. He would take notes and pictures. He would note innovations and new styles that he could bring back to his work, developing many of the neighborhoods we are familiar with here in Denver: Winston Downs, Hilltop, and Crestmore Park. He even named a development after his son, Lee. Despite how hard Ed worked, he always made time for his family. Vicky Bluma remembers being gently awakened by Ed in the mornings with a rub on her back and the smell of fresh coffee on his breath. Ed and Rand's children have fond memories of road trips and adventures, family gatherings, and holidays. Ed worked long days, but he also had the flexibility in his schedule to make time to attend his children and later grandchildren's sporting events and performances. He was often one of the only fathers in attendance. Ed loved his family very much, and perhaps most of all, his beloved lifelong partner, Rand. They were childhood sweethearts, and they remained loving companions until the very end. Ed and Rand made friends wherever they went. They were always together, holding hands and enjoying life. They would sit out on the porch greeting neighbors, striking up conversation with people walking their dogs. To everyone that knew them, Ed and Rayanne were a model couple. Ed and Rayanne were social butterflies together. With his gregarious and friendly demeanor, Ed made friends wherever he went. He and Rayanne loved taking cruises together and would often meet other couples in their travels, sometimes reuniting with their newfound friends on multiple cruises. Ed loved his grandchildren and cherished his time with them. He was always interested in their activities. He and Rayanne were favorites among the grandchildren's friends, always bringing donuts to their class's birthday parties. Ed and Rand loved taking their grandchildren on trips, especially skiing, which he loved very much. Ed Lampert was a person of character and strength. He survived several bouts of multiple myeloma. He was first diagnosed 18 years ago and told that this type of blood cancer had an average survival rate of just 6 years. Yet he beat these odds 3 times over. Rose Medical Center even featured him in a promotional calendar touting his strength and resolve to recover through exercise and his positive attitude. He faced illness just as he faced every challenge in his life, with positivity and determination. He lived his life always seeing his glass half full. Indeed, Ed's cup was overflowing with gratitude. Even through illness and pain, he was always cheerful and kind. Neil told me last night that once when a nurse made a mistake, causing him bruising and pain during a blood draw, Ed never got angry. In fact, he thanked the nurse with compassion and kindness. This is telling of Ed's personality and values. Ed was kind and courteous to waiters, friendly to strangers. He always wanted to know about other people, learn their name, learn something about them. You can tell a lot about a person's character by the way they treat people who serve them or work for them. Ed genuinely cared about his caregivers, Abby, Jeanette, and Kadushin. Abby shared with me that she would take Ed and Rand out to eat or get coffee at Einstein's, where they would hold court for hours with their friends. Abby would prepare traditional Ethiopian coffee for Ed every Thursday, and Ed always took an interest in her family. Throughout his life and career, Edward Lampert was a force for good. He created a loving home for his family, just as he sought to create beautiful homes for other families to enjoy. He was a generous, giving man. He loved life and the good things it had to offer. He did it all with a strength of will and upright character that is admirable, always cheerful and kind. He was a loyal friend, a proud Jew, and an upstanding member of our community. He loved his children and grandchildren and all of their spouses, Mark and Ruth, Vicky Bluma and Neil, Lee and Patty, Mara and Nathaniel, Eliza, Marco, Robert, Micah, and Alana, Leandra, Hyla, Sephra, and Noah, and Aframi. And today, Edward Lampert rejoins his beloved lifelong partner and friend, Rayanne Berg Lampert, whom we buried just over a week ago. They were together for their entire lives, and now they are together in the bonds of eternal life and love. May Edward Lampert's memory be a source of enduring blessing to his family and all who loved him. May he now rest in peace alongside his beloved Rayanne. May God bring comfort to those who mourn, and let us say amen. Before we hear from, I'll share the Shiva information shortly. We'll hear now from Mark Lampert.
My dad was a great dad. He was also my business partner in the company started by my grandmother in 1948. My dad was always asking, why don't you retire? My dad was asked a lot of times, why don't you retire? And he would reply that all his friends would retire and they would be busy doing honeydew stuff. He did honeydew items. His friends would then travel. He traveled. My parents traveled all over the world and they enjoyed that. And then he would say, then they die. He says, I don't want to die. So unfortunately, Dad, you're retired. My dad got his real estate license in 1951. He worked with his mother, which was a great mother-son relationship. I was proud to join the firm and became the third generation, and we became a third generation company. My dad was granted the title of Realtor Emeritus in 2003 for his 50 years of service to the industry. He also was inducted into the Omega Tau Rio, which recognizes him for his outstanding service in the real estate industry. He served as director many times for the Denver Board of Realtors and chaired many of the committees from 1983 to 2021. He also was awarded from the Denver Board of Realtors a Conway Attendance Trophy in 1956. He was a 5-star real estate agent from 2011 to 2021. He was listed in 5280 magazine as Denver's top real estate agent from 2011 to 2021. He also served on the board many years at Beth Joseph Congregation, chairing many of the committees, especially was his favorite one was the House Committee that took care of the building and the grounds. He also was active in the Winston Down Homeowners Association. You see that as we stated 10 years ago at this gravesite, my parents taught us the importance of being a volunteer and give of your time to something that you are passionate about. His fingerprint will remain in the areas of the developments around, as the rabbi said, Winston Downs, Lee Downs, Hilltop, and the Lampert subdivision in the southwest part of Denver. My family could not have allowed our parents to remain in their home without the dedicated and caring caregivers. Abby, watched over my mom for over 5 years. And as my mom would call her, "You're my girlfriend." When we needed 24-hour care, then Abby brought in Gannett, Kadushan, and recently Bruhan. They will always be part of our family. Thank you for all that you did for our parents. We love you all.
And I'll call forward Eliza and Micah.
Thank you all for coming today and being here to support my family and the community that my grandfather was so greatly a part of. I'm a part of trying not to be redundant. I did just want to say that today is very bittersweet as we say goodbye to my grandfather. He's also very joined with my grandmother now. Probably the longest they've ever been apart since they got together. My grandfather was the kindest man. He was truly the definition of a family man. As kids, he provided all 9+ grandchildren, all of my cousins, with ample opportunity to be loved individually. He never made any of us feel forgotten. I remember every Father's Day, we had a tradition of going over to my grandparents' house and we would have big squirt gun fights in the backyard. But his secret weapon was a giant super soaker that none of us knew about. He loved his children deeply and all of his grandchildren, and he helped every single one of us through school, through college, and through hard times in our lives. He would come to every single play and graduation. And every Hanukkah, we would celebrate all together as a family underneath the giant Star of David that he built for every one of his children, and that we now all decorate with tinfoil. Because for him, that was a part to make sure that even if we weren't all together in the same room, we were all celebrating at the same time. He was truly someone who shared happiness and joy with every person that he met. And I could tell stories all day about him and the love that he shared. But what you should know about Poppy and what he will always be to me is a loving grandfather who lived life to the fullest and filled his days with a simple smile, a deep-throated laugh, and the purest joy you will ever see in a human being. We will miss you, Poppy, and we love you forever and always.
I know everybody that stood up here today has thanked everybody, but I want to again thank everybody for coming out on such a nice warm day. For those of you that were here last time, everybody knows I'm not a speaker. I don't talk very much, so I'm just going to keep this short. Many of you who knew Poppy knew what he was like. For those of you that didn't know him that well, as has been mentioned before, he was a glass half full dad, but he was more than that. As my dad said last night, he wasn't a glass half full. He was a glass 3/4 full. It never mattered what was going on. He was always in such a great mood. My memories of him are normally Ma doing all the talking, and him sitting there, and he would do this thing where he would just smile and kind of laugh a little bit. He wouldn't say anything, he'd just laugh. Another thing that I specifically remember is he was always curious about everything. It didn't matter what it was or who it was. He would always inquire so much about all the grandkids, what we did for our jobs, about our friends. Up until a few weeks ago, he was still asking me about some of my college roommates from 13 years ago. A memory that kind of pops out at me that kind of gives you an idea is we got him finally to come and visit the family business down in Colorado Springs about 2 months ago. And he was so excited to come. And we gave him a full tour around the entire facility. And when we were done, we were sitting outside of my office having lunch, and he saw a drill bit that was sitting on a table. And these aren't the type of drill bits you get at Lowe's. These are big, giant drill bits for steel. And it was a broken drill bit. And he was asking about it. He was asking about the different texture on the drill bit and why has it got this geometry and what's that hole for? And then at the end of it, he asked if he could keep it. It was trash to the rest of us, but it meant something to him. He was curious about it. Another thing that many of you would know is that he's always joking all the time. There was times, even when he was in his worst state, where he was joking. You know, he made a comment. Sorry about this, Mom. He made a comment at the hospital that he was going to faint, but it had nothing to do with how he was feeling. It was because of the nurse that had come in. Some of you may have heard us when we were here just a few days ago laughing during the funeral, because Papa even found it in himself to turn to my dad and I and tell us a joke during the funeral. And he was always thanking people, like the rabbi had mentioned at the hospital. I can't tell you how many times he thanked me just for coming to see him or just for coming in the room. He thanked me more than once. And no matter how sick he was, if you asked him how he was feeling, it was always, I never once heard him say, not that great. I did one time hear him say, you tell me, but to kind of end this off, the story I told last week about Moth and my brother and I becoming the most expensive plumber he ever had. There's an end to that story that I didn't tell you guys, and it kind of shows you all who Papa was. After we left, I tried to give that money back to him that he gave me and my brother, and he just laughed and waved it off. He said, no, that's for you. He didn't, all he wanted to do was spend time with his grandkids. It didn't matter how much it cost him or whatever it was. I also think he was probably scared of Ma if she found out I gave it back to him. Anyway, thank you again.
Before we proceed in the service, Ed was very proud of his service in the Air Force. I know he's also very proud of Vicki and her service to the Civil Air Patrol, and his grandson Avrami and his service as a Marine. Ed, as I mentioned before, served in the Air Force, and at this time we will present a flag to his family on behalf of the Grateful Nation.
On behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation, it's my privilege and honor to present this flag to you in memory and in honor of his service in the United States Armed Forces.
The burial of our loved ones is a mitzvah, a sacred obligation on family and on an entire community. It is a mitzvah that we all are invited to participate in shortly. As we lower the casket, we will sing a little bit.
שיר למעלו, אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ, אל ייתן לעמוד רגליך, אל ינום שומרך, הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. השם שומרך, השם צלך, על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה. השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. השם ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם. מעתה ועד עולם.
I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Adonai will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm and guard your life. Adonai guards your going and coming now and forever. In a moment, we will invite family to participate in the burial, and then I will invite the community to participate. It's customary to place at least 3 shovelfuls of earth in the grave and return the shovel to the mound of earth, allowing the next person to fulfill the mitzvah. Some have a custom of using the back of the spade on the first shovelful as a gesture of reluctance. We'll invite family first and then the community to come to either side of the mound of earth and participate in the burial. Shamayim v'aretz ezri neim Hashem ose. Shamayim v'aretz esa'enai eharim me'ayin me'ayin yavo esri esa'enai eharim me'ayin me'ayin yavo esri esri neim Hashem ose. Shamayim v'aretz ezri neim Hashem ose. Shamayim v'aretz
Praise are you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe with the judge. Has given life, and life returns to other men. Praise be the name of the Lord.
Oh, ay, 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 ay. Da, 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 ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. Da, 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 ay, 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 ay.
The Lampert family will be receiving visitors following the funeral today and throughout the period of Shiva today, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday from 2 to 4 p.m. and from 5 to 8 p.m. with Mincha Mariv Minyanim each of those days, today, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday at 5 p.m. at the home of Ed and Rayanne, 7140 East Exposition Avenue. At the conclusion of the service, I'll invite the community to escort the family back to their vehicles by forming two lines back to the road. This is a gesture of our support and of our accompanying you on the road ahead of grief and mourning. This time I'm going to invite the family to recite Mourner's Tithe and conclude with Al Malay.
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabba V'Barak Olam.
מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים אמצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת ידו שלמה בן בנימין לחנה שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו אנא בעל הרחמים הסירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן.
El Malay Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Edward Lampert, who is gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. At this time, we invite the family to walk through our lines of comfort as we say the traditional words, Hamakom Yenechem Etchem, V'Tov Sha'ar Avaleyah B'Yerushalayim. God is with us whenever and wherever needed. May God comfort you in all who have mourned for Zion and Jerusalem.